Hey everyone, Mr. Sujano here. In today's video, we are talking about Arcade1Up. Let's get started. Alright, to kick things off, I've already done a few videos on Arcade1Up's digital board game table, the Infinity game table as they call it. I covered the initial announcement of the table and I also covered their Kickstarter. Now taking an updated look at that Kickstarter just to see how it's doing, and we can see here it has been a massive success. There are currently 34 hours left to go, and they've raised over 1 million American dollars when they only asked for 50 grand. To say people are interested in this might be a massive understatement. This thing has completely smashed its goal. They've also provided some updates on how certain games are going to work. There were a lot of people wondering how games like Battleship or Scrabble would work with a bunch of people gathered around the same screen, and how you'd be able to keep things relatively private. With Battleship, it looks like it will be a turn-based system, so one person sets up their board, hits the ready button, and then the board clears, the other person comes in and sets up theirs as well. And once everyone's set up, it looks like the game progresses just as per normal. Although looking at this screen, I'm still a little bit worried about frame rates. They do seem a little choppy here. With Scrabble, the pieces will be hidden until you toggle them in order to see them. And it looks like you can actually use your hand here when you toggle them, and it does a pretty good job of hiding them from your opponents. It looks like the solutions they've come up with will fix any sort of privacy concerns, so that's a huge thumbs up. I am still a little worried about the frame rate, but at the same time, these are probably pretty early builds, and I'm assuming things will get better towards the final product. And keeping with the good news here, well, good news if you're Arcade1Up, but bad news if you're a consumer. The Arcade1Up OutRun cabinets have completely sold out. They sold out relatively quickly, and now if you want to get your hands on one, you'll have to get pretty darn lucky. Mind you, they will still be making more in the future, just right now they are completely out of stock. Some people have already put together the OutRun cabinets, tested them out, and reviewed them. I will leave a link to this channel in the description below because they are a pretty darn good channel when it comes to thorough reviews of the product. They have a bunch of Arcade1Up videos out there, and they've actually gone ahead and have already started modding the OutRun cab. B has also uploaded a ton of photos on this cabinet, and there are a few things I want to point out. While the reviews of the sit-down version of the OutRun cabinet are generally positive, there are a few common things that people are not happy with. One of them is the gear shifter. Apparently, the gear shifter does not feel very nice at all, and it feels relatively cheap. It's also very interesting because it returns to the center position. It doesn't stay in the low or high positions, which is a little bit different than the actual arcade unit. The second major complaint people are having is in regard to the pedals. Apparently they feel very cheap as well. You can see from the side view here that the pedals don't look to be very durable at all. They're very light, they're very flimsy, and they look like they could be broken very easily. After going through these photos and seeing a few different reviews, B's included, it's very unfortunate that of all places to cut costs, they did it to the pedals. To me, the pedals are an integral part of the overall setup, and they would receive a lot of stress. If you really think about it, people would be stomping down on these pedals from time to time, and if you have to use them like you're worried about breaking them, that's not going to be a very good experience overall. Maybe fingers crossed that these actually hold up and they're built a lot better than they look. On a side note, I noticed they added a fan to their PCB, so it looks like things might be working just a bit harder now. And I've also noticed that they tried to add some airflow here by drilling 5 holes into each side. I don't know if that's going to do a whole lot, but hopefully the fan does a pretty good job at keeping this cool. Some people with a keen eye were noticing that the car in the Arcade1Up version of OutRun was a lot different than the car that was in the original version of OutRun. So the original version of OutRun had a car that looked a lot like a Ferrari, and you can see that in the bottom picture here. In the top picture, that is Arcade1Up's version of OutRun. Retro Ralph went out and asked CodeMystics directly if this is a different version of the game. And CodeMystics replied, said no, it's the arcade ROM, but they had to change up the artwork. So for those of you wondering, yes, this is the actual ROM. The game should play the exact same. It's just been changed up a little bit for legal reasons. Now, for those of you who may not be fans of the sit-down version of the machine, there will be a stand-up version of the machine which I actually think looks a little bit better. To be perfectly honest with you, I could get over the fact that the gear shifter probably doesn't feel great and the pedals I would want to swap out, but at the same time, this overall presentation, the overall package and the games included are pretty darn awesome. But anyways, that is all I've got for today. Just a quick update video on Arcade1Up and how they're pretty much killing it right now. Let me know in the comments below what you think about the Infinity Game Table success, what you think about the OutRun cabinet, or what games you hope Arcade1Up comes out with soon. If you like this video, leave a like. If you didn't like this video, leave a like. Hit that subscribe button, check out my other videos. Thank you everyone, take care.